Making a Murderer, Episode 2, Alexander Pichushkin. Alexander Yurievich Pichushkin, also known as the Chessboard Killer and the Bitsa Park Maniac. Alexander Pichushkin was born on the 9th of April 1974 in Mytishchi, Moscow Oblast, Russian SFSR, Soviet Union, and grew up on 2 Kersenskaya Street in Moscow proper. He lived there with his mother Natalia Elmorodovna, his younger half-sister, her husband, and their son in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 5th floor. Their apartment building was a 6-minute walk from the north end of Bitsa Park. Pichushkin is remembered to have been an initially sociable child. However, this changed following an incident in which Pichushkin fell backwards off a swing, which then struck him in the forehead as it swung back. Experts speculated that this event damaged the frontal cortex of Pichushkin's brain. Such damage is known to produce poor impulse regulation and a tendency towards aggression. Since Pichushkin was still a child, the damage would have been more severe, as a child's forehead provides only a fraction of the protection for the brain compared to an adult's. Following this accident, Pichushkin frequently became hostile and impulsive. Due to his behavior, Pichushkin's mother decided to transfer him from the mainstream school he had been attending to one for children with learning disabilities. Prior to this transfer, children from the mainstream school were known to have physically and verbally bullied Pichushkin, referring to him as "that retard." Pichushkin moved into his grandfather's home and was encouraged to pursue intellectual pursuits outside of school. The deepest of these interests was chess. Pichushkin was taught how to play, and after demonstrating his ability was introduced to the exhibition games against elderly men who played publicly in Bitsa Park. An outstanding chess player, Pichushkin found a channel for his aggression when dominating the chessboard in all of his games. However, he continued to be bullied by mainstream school children and suffered an emotional blow when, toward the end of his adolescence, his grandfather died. Pichushkin was left to return to his mother's home, after which he enrolled as a student. According to reports, the death of his grandfather greatly affected Pichushkin. In an effort to both dull the pain of the loss as well as to calm his severe aggressive tendencies, he began to consume large quantities of vodka. He continued to play chess both at home and in Bitsa Park, now joining the other men in drinking vodka, though unlike them he could play without being greatly affected by the alcohol. It was at this time that Pichushkin began to develop a more sinister hobby that, at the time, remained unknown to anyone. Whenever he knew he was going to come into contact with children, he would take a video camera along and proceed to threaten them. On one occasion that has since been made public, he held a young child by one leg, upside down, and said to the camera, "You are in my power now. I am going to drop you from the window, and you will fall 15 meters to your death." He then watched these videos repeatedly to reaffirm his power. However, by 1992, this practice had become insufficient to satisfy his urges. Pichushkin's first murder occurred on the 27th of July 1992, when he was aged 18. Pichushkin arranged to meet his classmate, Mikhail Odachuk, in Bitsa Park to jointly hatch a plan to kill 64 people. However, when they had arrived at the meeting point, Odachuk changed his mind and told Pichushkin that he no longer wanted to take action. Feeling teased by his best friend, Pichushkin strangled him and threw his body in a sewer entrance at Bitsa Park, then returned to his mother's apartment a short distance away. The body was never found. After Odachuk's disappearance, Moscow police opened an investigation. Witness testimony provided to the police stated that Odachuk was last seen with Pichushkin, walking in the direction of the park. Pichushkin was arrested at his mother's home on the 30th of July and taken to Moscow police station for questioning. When asked about his schedule on the day of Odachuk's disappearance, Pichushkin confirmed having met with Odachuk but claimed to have left him unharmed in the park. With no evidence tying him to the disappearance, Pichushkin was released. Pichushkin ceased killing for several years until 1996, when Russia placed a moratorium on the death penalty. This reignited Pichushkin's interest in killing. Russian media have speculated that Pichushkin was motivated, in part, by a macabre competition with another notorious Russian serial killer, Andrei Chikatilo, who was convicted of killing 52 children and young women over a 12-year period. Pichushkin has said his aim was to kill 64 people, the number of squares on a chessboard. He later recanted this statement, saying that he would have continued killing indefinitely had he not been stopped. Pichushkin was convicted on the 24th of October 2007 of 49 murders and 3 attempted murders. He asked a Russian court to add an additional 11 victims to his body count, bringing his claimed death toll to 60 and 3 surviving victims. During his trial, Pichushkin was housed in a glass cage for his own protection. Upon conviction, Judge Vladimir Usov sentenced Pichushkin to life imprisonment, with the first 15 years to be spent in solitary confinement. Pichushkin appealed his sentencing, claiming it was too harsh, and asking for a reduction to 25 years. As of 2017, Pichushkin was spending his days in solitary confinement at the Arctic penal colony, Polar Owl. Tune in for the next episode of Making a Murderer, Harold Shipman.